Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Depends at what time you're watching this episode. Maybe you are surprised to see me here alone, as normally Ganna and I we do this jointly. The topic is the last time it was a little bit difficult for us to find time to meet. That's why, because you're not only living in different countries, but also on different continents. So our idea is to maybe record some episodes alone before we continue as before together discussing Formula One data and history. So what is the idea of these episodes, which I will record alone? Maybe they're a little bit shorter than our normal episodes, and also I may like to retake topics which are a little bit more narrow, maybe topics we not talked about as we discussed our regular episodes. Remember, we started 1950s, coming each time a little bit closer to today. So right at the moment, we are in the 80s. For some topics, we decided not to discuss, and maybe because they are a little bit too narrow, as I said, or a little bit too nerdy. And I think these are some ideas I will consider for the episodes which I'm recording alone. So today, I think it's a little bit shorter episode, and we speak about Audi, which you are aware of will come to Formula One in 2026. And I want to point out a little bit the company's history regarding Formula One, which is more pre-Formula One, as they had been successful before Formula One officially started in 1950. Okay, then hope you find this interesting. Ganna and I always like to recommend reading books, biography about the time, about the different drivers, and if you have the possibility, go to the museums, the big ones, directly by the manufacturer or the team. Also, the smaller fan-based museums. Of course, Audi, big company. Here you find you find them inside the Volkswagen Museum in Wolfsburg. You have the opportunity when you buy your new Audi, you can get it at your dealership anywhere around the world, or you travel to Wolfsburg, get get shown the factory, and of course can enter the museum, which I must admit I never did. But if you're interested, there is the World of Volkswagen in Wolfsburg, which also include Audi and other company brands like Skoda, Lamborghini, and so on. So for petrol heads, of course, quite interesting, and not only petrol heads, as the brand is also going partly electric. Audi, just to remind you, is the follow-up company of Auto Union. Union, as the name said, was already bringing together four different brands, which have been the original Audi, DKW, Horch, and Wanderer. Auto Union, as the logo, as the four circles representing the four brands, the same logo as already then Audi took on. And maybe this rebranding also has been based on politics, as Audi Union was the company also in World War II, and of course had been supported by the Nazi regime at that time. I think in one of the earlier episodes, maybe the one about the history of Alfa Romeo, we underlined a little bit that governments in this time, 40s, in Europe, also later in Latin America, had been supporting motorsports also to show their political superiority. And this was not different for Audi Union, which received funding by the government. And you may consider that this was the reason why the company, after the end of World War II, renamed as Audi. But again, it's a follow-up of Auto Union, which had been very successful since the 1930s, using quite a distinctive technology. They have been strong in aerodynamics, and also they already had a mid-rear engine, a V16 engine. So really a lot of fascinating technology ahead of the time. And here you see, for example, the 1935 Auto Union Typ B, which brought the first victory for the company at the 1935 Italian Grand Prix. Driver Henz been Hans Stuck. Formula One fans may find this name familiar because Hans Stuck was active before the founding of Formula One, but his son Hans-Joachim Stuck became also a successful racing driver, not that much in Formula One. As you know, Formula One, it's about having the talent and also being at the right time at the right place. So he was, for example, driving for Brabham Alfa Romeo, but never made the step to really become a driver competing about victories or championship. But later he became successful with Porsche in the sports prototypes and also returned then later for Audi in the German touring car series DTM. So really successful driver, even if not directly inside Formula One. I've mentioned Auto Union was ahead of its time. And by the way, if you are just listening to this as the audio podcast, it's not directly a video podcast, I would call it, but an enhanced podcast, meaning normally Ganna and I, we are discussing the topics, and always we try to show you some interesting pictures of the technology, the drivers, etc. So if you're only listening, please consider to find also our video podcasts on YouTube, YouTube Music, and Spotify. So on the left, you see the 1937 Auto Union Typ C's Stromlinie, streamlined in English, 6-liter engine V16. And driven here as in this year, 1937, by Bernd Rosemeyer, who won the 1936 European Championship, which I think only had been 4 races in Europe, and he won 3 of them, the German, the Swiss, and the Italian GP. You may say that this series was a little bit the predecessor of Formula One until the Second World War. Then after this, very similar reglement, then continued Formula One. And here also on the left is streamlined. On the right, you see the normal version for the slower tracks. And you see already here, and this was ahead of its time, the engine had been in the middle of the car behind the driver. So something which only started in Formula One practically in the 1960s. The first Formula One cars, the winning Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Maserati, had still the engine in front of the driver, as they also used, for example, in the 1930s as first year Formula One, 1950s, the cars had been already developed before Second World War. So really, already here in 1937, a mid-car race engine. This was really much ahead of its time, and unfortunately we lost this. So we already this development for 10 years. But anyway, that's the way it was. If you see the videos here, a quite nice view on the 16-cylinder engine, really beauty. This is advantages and disadvantages. Of course, the advantages has been on the fast tracks, disadvantage, fuel consumption and weight. But nevertheless, it supported Auto Union winning the championship. Here we see the 1938 Union type. If you look at it, it really looks very similar than modern, I mean, 1950s Formula One cars. So quite near. And again, Audi is still ahead of its time. Then this you may relate to the Audi claim, Vorsprung durch Technik, advantage based on technology. And similar as all German cars, the silver color, which not came directly from Auto Union, but famously Daimler-Benz. You may have heard the story, Daimler-Benz cars at this time in white, because German cars, due to the international color code, had been white, French cars blue, Italian ones red, etc., Germans white. But unfortunately, the Mercedes was a little bit overweight, so they decided to take off the color, and under this it was the metal, and this looked silver. It's a little bit what we see also in modern Formula One times. So now I'm speaking about 2023, 2024, where we see the teams take off color and you see a lot of black now. So quite a similar philosophy. So this was a little bit about Audi history. As I said, not in Formula One, but in pre-Formula One, the European Championship, a little bit comparable to later Formula One as it's restarted in 1950s. Audi will then, for a first time, officially join Formula One in the beginning of 2026. The interesting thing, they are now in the process developing an engine, and they develop it directly based on the 2026 regulations. Means on the one hand, maybe they are lacking experience in maintenance and developing of Formula One engines. On the other hand, they have a complete fresh start and focusing directly on the 26 regulations. So maybe they don't have some mental limitations as the established team. So this could be quite interesting to see where this car will be. Maybe right at the end, or maybe already quite competing with the top teams. Everything is possible. Of course, there are some limitations, as they will completely acquire the Sauber team, which is a small team based in Switzerland. So I wouldn't expect them to be competitive right from the beginning, because they are much smaller, which have disadvantages, as we see teams like Mercedes-Benz, Sauber, but also McLaren, which have big organizations, also experience in logistics and everything around Formula One. So and Sauber, unfortunately, this year 24, right at the top. Right at the top would be great. Right at the bottom of the championship. So I wouldn't expect them to be competitive already in 2026. But again, maybe there will be surprise. So again, engine completely based on 26 regulations with increased electrical power, and 1 year later, 2027, as all Formula One teams, they will use sustainable fuels. To do this, Audi is in the process acquiring the Sauber Group. In the past, until the end of 23, they had been participating as Alfa Romeo Sauber. Alfa Romeo had been a sponsor, so the engine was the Ferrari customer engine, the car developed by Sauber, and even the big branding, Alfa Romeo was more a sponsor. Nevertheless, if we see the development since Alfa Romeo left in 23 and now 24, which have been, to be honest, quite negative, even if they kept the same drivers, you may consider that Alfa Romeo also included some technical support, maybe not directly by Ferrari, but by Alfa, but by the Ferrari exports. And so now ending this contract and becoming the official Audi team, this support may not be on the same level as we have seen still in 23. Nevertheless, this year and also next year, 25, they are still using the Ferrari engine before they will switch to Audi in 26. And by the way, you see here the photo. This is, I think, a nice presentation for the press, which they already did back in, was it in the beginning of 24 or still end of 23, as they introduced their plan to enter Formula One. So nice modern Formula One car, but it will of course never compete, as they will they continue developing their car this year, next year, and they will come up with something different for the 26 season. But maybe the colors at least will be somehow similar. Entering Formula One is not only about the technology itself, you also need the key employees, and this on all levels, of course, drivers, team principal, chief operation, technical officer, COO, CTO. So Audi is in the process to form their team for 26. And this includes also Mattia Binotto, who we still remember as the responsible for the Scuderia Ferrari, a long-term Ferrari employee. He started as not he started, but he already had been a chief mechanic working together with Michael Schumacher, then slowly stepped up until becoming responsible for the Scuderia Ferrari. He lacked a little bit luck and results, maybe some strategical race decisions not played out as hoped. That's why he lost his position in Ferrari. Nevertheless, I think a good person, and I think also somebody with sufficient experience to teach this experience to the rest of the Audi team. So I think this is really a good choice for Audi and should help them to establish them, maybe not right from the beginning as one of the top teams, but somewhere in the middle, what will be a big step forward to the actual Sauber results. Of course, team principal, technical officer, chief operating officer, chief engineer, all are very important functions. And again, the whole team is important for the performance from the highest level to the lowest level. But nevertheless, of course, and especially for the fans, important who will be the drivers, sorry. And also here we already have a potential answer, as Audi presented Nicolas Hülkenberg or Nick Hülkenberg, a German driver who will already join um, Sauber for the 25 season. Right at the moment, he is quite successful with Haas, supported the team stepping up this year in the championship. A very experienced driver, already had been active in Williams, Force India, Sauber, Renault, Racing Point, and Aston Martin. So next year he should be in Sauber and already help here the team to step up from where they are right at the moment. And then 26 should be one of the two Audi drivers. Also here, I think a very good choice for Audi because he's a very fast driver. If you see him in competition with his teammates normally, and also a driver who is already won the 24 hours of Le Mans back in 2015. So experience also on endurance race, meaning somebody with experience, somebody who is fast, and somebody who tends not to destroy too often the car, which is especially for a young team and a team which wants to collect as much experience as possible, a very good choice. Besides being an actual driver, his way to Formula One is quite a classic one. He's born in Emmerich am Rhein, here in North Rhine-Westphalia or North Rhine-Westphalia, as you would say in English. So quite in the west of the country, and also interesting, born 1978, but in a country which is not existing in that form, at least anymore, because in West Germany, so born before the unification, but really born quite in the west, even for West Germany. For this, no surprise that he speaks various languages, which we have here at the borders, as we are near to the Netherlands and Belgium. So he speaks, of course, German, Dutch, French, and English. Great, of course, for the marketing team. And as I said, I think he really will be an important stepstone for Audi becoming a successful Formula One team. And of course, Audi German team having a German driver always makes sense, not only for the marketing here in the home country, but also, I mean, if you're buying an Audi, you some buy the German image. So having a German driver is makes sense from a marketing point. So far, we don't know who will stay on for Audi. So we have to follow a little bit the news to see who will be the next key players joining Sauber next year, and already with the idea to stay on for the time when they become officially Audi. Okay, that's all I have for today. As I said, these single episodes, I tend them to have them a little bit shorter and maybe discussing topics which we would not include in our regular episodes. If you are interested in these episodes, please like and please subscribe. We are on different platforms, video via YouTube, which is our home. Also, this includes now, of course, YouTube Music, where you can easily also subscribe similar to podcasts. Also, we are in video on Spotify, on all other platforms. We are available as an audio podcast. So if you're, I don't know, driving in the train, you can at least listen to us. Also, I want to mention that there are some mixtapes or playlists available on Spotify. For example, the Data-Driven F1 mixtape. Here we collected music which have been inspired by different Formula One drivers. starting, it started, I think the earliest one is from the 1970s, but also includes more modern songs. So if you're a Formula One fan, you may check out also this different kind of mixtapes we have on Spotify. Okay, that's all for the moment. Again, hope to see you soon. Maybe the next episode is again with Ganna. We will see when we can meet. If not, maybe a different single episode about some topic which I think is interesting. This reminds me, if you have anything, any topic related Formula One, which you think Ganna and I should discuss, or at least one of us alone, please always give us feedback what you like to see in the future. If possible, we like to take also your ideas, including topics. Thanks a lot, and until the next time.